There are too many open worlds that fall into monotony, since they're badly made. There are so many areas to capture, enemies to defeat, roads to roam, before the game becomes repetitive rather than exciting like the first time you put it up. There are multiple solutions to this problem. One of many is the introduction of cooperative mode. That, if well done, can alleviate many of the problems a world may have. How? First things first, roll the intro. It is well known that playing with a friend makes virtually every game more fun. Heck, I played Kena Lynch 2 in Coop and had a blast. But while playing Coop is fun by itself, how and why does it fix, or at the very least alleviate, some of the problems present in open worlds? In other words, yeah, it might be fine playing with a friend or two, but what does this have to do anything regarding game design? Let's take a step back and address the issue first. Developing an open world game has high risks but also high rewards. Giving the player a massive uncharted land to explore and playing in it is a double-edged sword. The bigger the scale of a project and the more spectacular the game can be, sure, but nobody wants a diluted experience. Games like Breath of the Wild are going to be remembered for decades, while games like Mafia 3 will be forgotten in oblivion. Making a good open world experience is hard. There is a fine line to balance, where leaning too much on simplicity or too much on tiresome leads to terrible results. There's no uniform formula all open worlds need to follow. No precise land area or number of activities can determine if the balance was broken. Yet gamers are not naive, and if this balance is not met, they will notice. Of course, it goes without saying that the player's own preferences makes a difference when it comes to defining what is too much and too little. I personally don't mind Just Cause game structure even if admit to be repetitive. On the other hand, I found games like Mirror's Edge Catalyst to be disappointing, even if some others like the free roaming game. I made 2 whole videos about these 2 games explaining why. Another open world that comes to mind when the fanbase seems to be divided on whether or not its execution was well done is Mafia Definitive Edition. Lost Heavens is a spectacular city to look and drive around, but that's pretty much it when it comes to gameplay. Yakuza on the other hand has one of the smallest open worlds I've ever experienced in a video game, slightly bigger than a hub area, but it is a wonderful world to roam around, where in 5 different games I sunk in God knows how many hours. One video game developer that comes to mind when it comes to open world controversies is of course Ubisoft, with her, let's just say, background in open world developing. The French-Canadian team is responsible for the creation of the so-called Ubisoft formula, a term that once described great titles like Far Cry 3 and Assassin's Creed Black Flag that now became almost an insult. One game in particular that sparked the making of this video is Far Cry 6, the latest installment of the Far Cry franchise. I did not finish this game, so this video is no review of the title, but let's just say that the problem described earlier of a diluted experience are felt loud and clear in this entry. Far Cry 6 is not bad by any means, but it remarks the critiques already made to Ubisoft. While the formula was great in 2013, almost 10 years later it doesn't fly anymore, and the structure of Far Cry 6 feels more like completing a checklist rather than an organic experience. Having said that, I'm having a blast playing the game these days while I'm writing the script. Why? As you can imagine from the title, I'm playing the entirety of the game in co-op mode with my good old friend Tito, who gifted me the game for my birthday. We're having so much fun playing the game together that it almost confuses me on why the above listed problems are not as evident as I was feeling when I was playing alone. To answer this dilemma, I will need a new block. I do not think it is a revelation to say that any game in cooperative is fun, think of World 2 or Minecraft. Yet I'm not here to state the obvious, but rather to explain why the co-op mode is able to break what many consider dead open world games such as Far Cry 6. You see, repetition is not bad by definition. I played hours upon hours online in Mario Kart 8 without breaking a sweat, and even offline games can last for an ungodly amount of time, such as strategy games like Civilization. Monotony is what truly kills a game. Now you might ask what is the difference between repetition and monotony. Often these 2 words are used as synonyms of each other, yet there is a small discrepancy. A game like Yakuza is repetitive by nature. You end up beating the bad guy at the end of every sub-story. Yet nobody would call it monotonous because every sub-story is unique, and the developers made sure to scatter them all around the adventure evenly. Far Cry 6 on the other hand is both repetitive and monotonous. The map is split up into various enemies' territories, missions to carry out in the same way, and circumstances are not that unique, not to mention the identical roadblocks and camps you need to liberate across the nation-sized game. The only true way to make an experience repetitive but not monotonous is by introducing as much entropy as possible. In open world games there are multiple ways to do this, but often require either a great amount of work and attention to detail, designing many truly unique situations for the player to face, or a lot of creativity. Games like Dark Souls can be enjoyed single player for the former reason, while Minecraft can be enjoyed single player for the latter one. Playing a game like Far Cry 6 in co-op doesn't remove the repetitiveness of the title, but rather its monotony. When playing with a friend, there's greater fun to be had, and the variables of what can go different increases exponentially. But in co-op, you do not necessarily change the game itself, but you do mold and edit the game's structure. Co-op adds a level of unpredictability that tackles many of the dull open world's problems. Missions within the colossal sandboxes no longer feel the same because tackling them with more players results in myriads of different situations. Even the slight difference game styles had by the 2 or more players causes sparks and further flaccriness in the gameplay.
È morto il mio cavallo, è morto. No!
Now, I'm not claiming that every game has to incorporate co-op, but I am claiming that more often than not, open worlds derive great advantages when it comes to the enjoyment by the user if equipped by a multiplayer experience, ideally one that goes hand in hand with the plot and the world progression. Actually, on this last note, I think it is very frustrating that games like Far Cry 6 only allow progression on the story in the host's game, limit the guest player with basically an empty campaign on their end. Games like Borderlands do a much better job at this, finding the least common denominator among the players and progressing from there, sending the quest down for everyone's own adventure and even scaling enemies accordingly so that no player is over or underpowered. Not having co-op mode in open world games is a missed opportunity at best and an artificial drawback at worst. Most of the time, integrating cooperative mode is not even rocket science from a game design perspective. Allow another player to enter one's player's lobby and save quests down elsewhere in your local database. I might forgive indie titles, but big studios do not have excuses. Co-op doesn't need to be mandatory by any means. It would be frustrating having block content just because you wish to play by yourself. Yet the enhancements of co-op are real and games should incentivize it and make it easier for players to play it together in the same world. Some games simply can't be fixed with updates. Some game cores are simply rotten and no tweaking around can solve that. But a co-op mode can be added fairly simply, even after launch, alleviating at times even fixing issues open worlds tend to have. Oh, and just to be clear, when I'm speaking about co-op mode in open world games, I am speaking about a multiplayer mode within the world itself, not in some sort of external bubble. Yes, I'm looking at you, Far Cry 3. Co-op can alleviate an open world's problem only when it's present in such world, not elsewhere. Open worlds have the tedious task of generating fun and excitement for the player without causing monotony in one's experience. Repetition is inevitable, but if this repetition is broken down to the point that it never degenerates, then I would say that the open world has succeeded in its mission. Co-op is one immediate tool that, without altering the game's structure radically, makes this a reality. Open worlds are one of the most popular elements developers wish to fit in every game, but as we know perhaps too well, this does not always work as planned. Monotony is a beast that roams the land for many games, and while better care and design is needed to kick off it permanently, co-op is a good short-term solution. As I hope I illustrated today, co-op is capable of turning a repetitive, monotonous experience into something more uplifting and fun to play. Repetitiveness, if monotony is removed, can actually work, and one way to remove it is by adding cooperation mode. Having said that, I'm excited to go back and play Far Cry 6 with my friend after this video. If you made it this far, I thank you one too many co-op signs for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, do not forget to leave this video a like and share it and subscribe for more. I spoke perhaps too much today, so let me know what is your take on this topic. Do you think co-op is a good remedy for some open world games? Let me know down in the comments below, and as usual, I wish you a wonderful day. Arrivederci.